Welcome everyone. Just to give an overview for those of you who are not familiar with Global Village, we're a strategic partnership for global citizenship education, again, as I mentioned, in primary schools across Ireland. And we are funded by Irish Aid in the Department of Foreign Affairs. We are a consortium of 4 other partners as well. So DCU, the INTO, IPPN and TROCA. And our goal, our mission is to ensure that all primary school pupils on the island of Ireland are supported in becoming global citizens, so working towards a fair and more sustainable world. So in 2022, we had an 18-month pilot program where we worked with approximately 16 schools. And then we have moved into, now we're entering our second year of a 3-year program now. That's our full program. So our 4 outcomes, with our main aim being to bring GCE and quality resources and GCE delivery to primary school students, we have 4 aims for this. So we really want to ensure that primary school teachers and school leaders are supported in this delivery through quality and accessible GCE resources. We also want to ensure that we have a network of GCE practitioners and partners. So again, so that the support and collaboration is there. We also, being partners with DCU in particular, have a research base to all of the work we do. And we also contribute to relevant national and international policy at primary level in GCE. So, for example, we would have done a submission to the NCCA recently for the new primary curriculum framework. And finally, our 4th outcome is to increase visibility of GCE and Global Village within the primary school sector so that everyone knows who we are and that there's things there for them to use. So our team, we're made up of 4, soon to be 5 members. We've Alicia Kelly as our program manager, myself and Claire are the education officers. Liz is our administration assistant, and we are currently recruiting a digital and comms officer as well. So for any further information, our email is there, our website is there as well. So if you email that info@globalvillageschools.ie, it'll come directly to myself or Claire. So any question, there's no question too small, feel free to reach out. And all of our current resources and research, they're all on the website already, so free to download, free to use, and yes, so drop us a line. I'll just hand over to Claire now. She's going to tell you more about the research that we've been doing with DCU.
Great, thanks Ailbhe. Hi everybody, great to be with you today. So as Ailbhe mentioned, today we're talking with you about Global Village research, and then I'll hand back to Ailbhe for more information about our teaching resources. And DCU is one of our partners, so Dublin City University, and so far to date they've carried out 2 pieces of research for Global Village. So on the screen here, so the first one, which I'll talk to you in greater detail in a few minutes, was a national survey of Irish primary teachers and school leaders to learn more about their understandings, their values, their attitudes and their practices around GCE. The second one then was a scoping study looking at current GCE practices within the early childhood education sector and future possibilities for GCE within that. So both of those reports are currently on our website. They're there for you. And I suppose particularly I'm going to be talking about the national survey today, but those of you maybe who are particularly interested in the early childhood education side of things, that research report is on the website as well. And then just to mention some ongoing research, which I'm working on as part of my role as education officer. I'm working closely with DCU to look at this idea of a whole school approach. So kind of a term that's often used in the sector. So the kind of characteristics that might feature in a whole school approach to GCE, particularly in the context of the new primary curriculum framework. So Ailbhe mentioned that we put in a submission to the NCCA, as did IDEA, around the new primary curriculum framework, the subject specifications or curricular area specifications. So we're looking towards, I suppose, that coming in the next few years into teachers' practice on how GCE might fit into that, and particularly, as I mentioned, that idea of whole school approach. So that's ongoing, and that's something that will feature as well moving into year 2 of our work. So year 1 has been a desk-based piece of research on that concept, and then in year 2 we're aiming to do some action research, potentially some interviews or focus groups with teachers and school leaders. So just in terms of that national survey, so this was a study of teachers and school leaders' attitudes, values and practices with regards to GCE. And I suppose particularly with Global Village, the idea here is to ground our practice in research and in recent and Irish focused research. So that's I suppose the key point with our relationship and our partnership with DCU. So just to give you a bit of kind of the background, before this research was conducted, so around the kind of the literature that was there already, so some of the kind of key findings there, that many teachers are already quite openly disposed to GCE, and oftentimes they see it as connected to their core purpose as a teacher. So I suppose already having that kind of idea of you know, wider society, the wider world, and the function of education within that. That at policy level teachers are often seen as like the linchpins or the central kind of point through which children are supported to develop their skills, their attitudes and their values around active global citizenship. And then the recognition of being an active citizen competency. So it's one of the 7 competencies in the new Irish primary curriculum framework. So that being seen, I suppose, as a positive in terms of recognizing that kind of wider societal context in which children are learning, the recognition of skills and dispositions in the context of, say, climate change, conflict, growing inequalities, and many of the key kind of global themes that we are all, I suppose, working on. And then also a recognition that GCE can be challenging, can also be seen as risky. And again, I suppose something that a lot of us are already kind of clued into in terms of it maybe being seen as controversial or potentially controversial in the classroom. So that being the kind of the backdrop to this particular study. So the core questions that underpinned the study then were to understand what primary teachers, including school leaders, what their understandings of GCE are already, what their knowledge and attitudes towards GCE are, then to learn more about their confidence and skills in relation to actually teaching GCE, and then to find out more about, I suppose, the supporting environment or the challenging environment. So what impacts on the inclusion of GCE in schools? So those were the key questions underpinning this particular study. So just to give you a little bit of information around then who actually responded to the survey. So it was sent out to every school in the country to give teachers and school leaders an opportunity to participate in the survey. So in terms of school location, you can see the statistics there on the slide. So just over 70% were in urban schools and just under 30% were in rural schools. Just under 40% of the teachers who answered were working in schools with a DESH status. And I suppose just to give you a bit of context, so in the 2020 or 2021 figures for that would have been approximately 22% of primary schools having DESH status. So above that particular stat. Just in terms of the breakdown of schools, so most of the respondents were working in schools that were mixed gender, with a smaller percentage working in girls only or boys only schools. And most were working in vertical schools, so schools that ranged from junior infants right up to 6th, as opposed to senior or junior schools. We also had, I suppose, a range of responses from different school types, including small rural schools. So again, you can see that represented on the slide here. And then just in terms of the language of instruction, so the survey was made available in English and Oscuelga as well, and the percentage of teachers who listed their school as being the Gael school or teaching through Irish was in line with the same number of schools in 2019. So 8.1% was the national percentage for that year. So then just in terms of our participants, so there were 287 participants whose responses were counted. So there were more who responded but didn't fill in sufficient information to be counted in the kind of final analysis. So we were working with 287 respondents, and you can see there like a range of experience. So just over 30% with 20+ years of experience, down to about 20% with 0 to 5 years of experience. So a range of experience among the participants as well. We had a significant response rate from those in school leadership positions, and I suppose that in part came through our own partnership with the Irish Primary Principals Network that Ailbhe mentioned earlier, and communicating and I suppose promoting the survey through them. But most people didn't have a position of responsibility who answered the survey. So again, a mix there. This point is of particular interest to us in Global Village because we are working on continuous professional development. So making professional development opportunities available for teachers who are in the classroom already. And the majority of our respondents hadn't never participated in specific GCE professional development training. So beyond their, this isn't counting maybe what happened in their initial teacher education experience, but once they were qualified and working as a teacher, most of them had not attended a professional development course. Those who had, it ranged from, I suppose, recent courses to some who had attended them 10 or more years ago. So then just in terms of that question around teachers' understandings of GCE, these are some key points drawn out of the survey report, with more online if you're particularly interested in reading that. So there was an open question initially in the survey around, what you understand global citizenship education to mean, and these are some of the understandings that came through in that particular point. So teachers' understandings of GCE are multidimensional, very broad in nature, and the understanding from this is that teachers are coming to GCE from a range of different perspectives and experiences. There was a strong cosmopolitan and global outlook, showing strong connections to this idea of a global community, shared humanity, interdependence and interconnectedness. Rights and sustainability were not particularly prevalent in teachers' own descriptions of GCE. So again, this is something that's of particular interest to us in Global Village in terms of, the range of themes that we work on, and the connections that we are trying to foster, in teachers' understandings around the breadth of GCE and how it can connect in with human rights education, with education for sustainable development, and so on. And then there was, I suppose, a limited connection made by respondents between or around GCE and behavioural change. So really that action element of GCE wasn't coming across as particularly strong in teachers' own understandings of GCE. So again, of course, something of interest to us in Global Village and potentially for some of you also working in the primary sector. So then teachers were also asked to rate their GCE related knowledge, confidence and pedagogical skills. So they were looking at a series of different GCE themes and pedagogical areas, and these were drawn from Irish Aid and also UNESCO definitions of GCE. So I suppose in maybe contrast to some of those own definitions of GCE that teachers were asked to write at the start of the survey, one of their areas of highest knowledge that they identified from a selection was around human rights, then gender equality and cultural diversity. But then sustainable development again and global citizenship itself were rated as lower in terms of their kind of sense of their own knowledge on these topics. The lowest category rated overall was around pedagogical skills. So teaching GCE, how to support students to engage in action. So again, that kind of action piece coming through. And supporting students' empathetic responses was the highest rated skill. So again, I suppose for us, we're thinking of there, that might link in with what teachers are already doing, say in SPHE, for example. So maybe something that's more of a comfort zone for teachers or something that's better known. And there was definitely a correlation between time teachers actually spent on GCE per week and their experience and pedagogical skills. So where they rated their pedagogical skills higher, that connected in with the amount of teaching experience. So as they went through their own career as teachers, they were becoming more confident in spending time on GCE. And I suppose just to say, like, overall, there was a positive inclination towards GCE. So in terms of how teachers rated their, I suppose, recognition of the value of GCE, it was there. Their own knowledge, their confidence, their pedagogical skills, there is a difference there. It's still high enough, like 3.3 out of 5, but definitely there is a gap there in terms of perceived importance of GCE compared to knowledge and confidence and skills. So again, something that we're working on in Global Village around our teacher training and starting with that kind of confidence building piece. And then just finally, in terms of factors that contribute to the teaching of GCE in classroom, elements that were listed that either supported or hindered the teaching of GCE. The most prevalent supportive factor was resources. So again, hopefully that maybe is interesting to those of you who are creating resources for primary school teachers. And other areas was the teacher's own passion, level of children's engagement, a supportive environment in terms of the school ethos, the curriculum, and then a kind of a lower percentage that mentioned CPD and wider GCE programs, but it is there. So just to mention that. And in terms of the most significant obstacle, probably will come as no surprise to anybody that time was mentioned, but I suppose time in different manners. So curriculum overload, but also maybe lack of time for actually planning, lack of discrete curriculum allocation for GCE, curriculum constraints. Those were all elements of time, and whole school planning time as well were mentioned as issues. And just in terms of the, I suppose, principals identified teachers as the most significant factor that contribute to positive inclusion of GCE in schools. So there was a recognition there on behalf of school leaders as to, I suppose, how much work teachers themselves put into this. CPD itself, so continuous professional development, wasn't mentioned particularly frequently by teachers as either a support or a hindrance, although principals tend to recognise it more as a support. And again, just in terms of those of you who maybe are working on continuous professional development for teachers, they were looking for a range of CPD topics from, I suppose, covering your basics, starter guides, right through to more critical pedagogy and literacy. So I'm going to just hand over to Ailbhe now, but just to, I suppose, reiterate, this is available on our website if you're interested in reading more about the research, and it is an ongoing component of Global Village in terms of informing our practice and our programme.
So thanks so much. Yes, so Claire's really covered outcome 3 for us. So that's, all of the research based on the collaboration with DCU. I just want to really quickly go through how we achieve outcome 1 and 2. So how do we really get those quality and accessible GCE resources to teachers? So on this slide, I just want to draw your attention to the 2 images on the right-hand side. So our Padlet for GCE resources and our documentary of teacher experiences. So again, Claire and I both have teaching backgrounds. We know that time is a huge constraint for teachers. So we also pride ourselves in Global Village on being responsive to teachers' needs. So our Padlet here just puts all of the GCE resources that a lot of you here today, a lot of your organizations have. We put them all in one place just to save teachers time in finding them, and it helps us to direct them to them as well. We also have our documentary of teacher experiences here on the bottom right. That is from our pilot school program, where those pilot schools actually speak to their experiences of trying to implement GCE practices in their school. I'll just go through the others now, slide by slide, but join the dots. Again, all of these resources are available for free on our website. So Join the Dots is an introduction video and accompanying curriculum linked activity pack. So an introduction to GCE, so share for last grade profession. So that is a really nice introduction to GCE for your class. The following one down there is our the promise. So this is again responsive to teachers' needs. We had a lot of interest and asks this year for a resource around environmental education and its links to GCE. So this is all built around the storybook, the picture book, The Promise, by Nicola Davies. And again, it's curriculum linked, all of the activities in it. It's kind of a grab and go resource. You can do it from top to bottom or just pick and choose different activities. And that will be coming soon on Gaeilge as well. The Day War Came, again, one huge topic that teachers really wanted to broach and saw the importance of broaching this year was war and conflict. So we designed, again, a curriculum linked activity pack for junior and senior primary school around this topic. And again, it follows a similar format, grab and go and do it from top to bottom or just selected activities. Again, we're having that translated at the moment. And then in terms of CPD, we offer full school, in-school workshops. So you can see that in the bottom picture here. So we'll come and deliver free workshops to schools, to staff on a range of topics, but basically, and we customize it to the school, to whatever their needs are. We do offer workshops in education centres as well. So after school, Claire runs a weekly GCE and T session. So every Monday for a half hour, just an informal drop-in session, where you can come and ask questions about GCE or share what's going well. So it's a really lovely space. We have a teach meet every year. We had a wonderful teach meet this year in Mary Immaculate College, and we hope to run another one in February of next year. We have our school leadership symposium. We had it in Ailbhe House this year, and it'll run again in April next year. And also we piloted an outdoor and GCE event in Laois Forest School this year, and we'll run that in June. And then we have our EPV Day summer course in July in DCO All Hallows. So again, any information or updated resources will be shared via our mailing list. So again, just if you drop us an email at info@globalvillageschools.ie, we'll add you to the mailing list, no problem. So otherwise, absolutely lovely to speak to you all today. And yeah, we hope you'll reach out soon and we get to work with you again. Thanks so much.